Hey everyone, it's Allie, and today we need to talk about the single most broken Ascendancy class that will ever exist in Path of Exile's history. Well, to put it bluntly, you'll be able to do this, or if I were to showcase you the proper version of this, you are now going to be able to do this. Every single explosion that you see on the screen does 9 million damage each, meaning that this setup currently does, I don't know, somewhere around maybe a billion damage or so. Today, we're going to be discussing the Whisper, one of the new ascendancies that's going to come out for the limited time event Legacy of Phrecia. This ascendancy is the most broken ascendancy that's ever existed in Path of Exile's history, and nothing will ever come anywhere close to it. If you want to play a Mickey Mouse build that is going to literally completely trivialize the game while being super tanky and do, well, billions of damage with multiple different ways, I would highly recommend for you to go and potentially consider playing a Whisper during the event. This ascendancy is hilariously broken and allows you to, well, kind of do whatever you want with it, given it's going to be an extremely versatile ascendancy that lets you play any attack and do hundreds of millions, if not billions of damage, depending on the mechanics of the skill itself. So let's get into it. Let's show you how this is broken and how, well, the game is going to become very, very silly for this event due to this ascendancy. Now, the most important thing here, and why Whisper is so strong, is your mind is destroyed. This gives you all spell damage that you gain in your build as attack damage at 150% of its value. Now, this is a stat that's existed in the game before. Most notoriously, this currently exists on Crown of Eyes, and is typically how most wand-based builds go about scaling their damage. Another way that this used to exist in the past, which has been completely removed from the game, was as Battle Mage's Cry. This did exactly the same thing, except it required you to press it every 15 seconds, which felt a little bit annoying. With Your Mind is Destroyed, you now just have this permanently active at all times, and the most important thing is that this stat isn't available without you running Crown of Eyes, meaning you weren't able to run Indigon with this. Well, now that we have this as an ascendancy point, we can then put on Indigon, play a mana stacker, and given we're going to be fairly easily spending somewhere around 10,000 mana every 4 seconds with Indigon, we can take the 20 to 25% spell damage for each 200 mana you've spent recently and scale it to the absolute moon, giving you up to 3,500 increased attack damage just from you, well, pressing your button. This is on the same scale as a late game super high-end multi-mirror armor stacker in terms of the amount of extra percent damage that they gain from Replica Dreamfeather. And, well, when you have this much attack damage, you can kind of do whatever you want with it. I am personally going to be league starting this as a Kinetic Blast build, and we're going to be playing this as a Wander because I simply like the clear of it. But there have been path buildings that people have made of Lightning Strike doing over 1 billion damage with this. And there's also Mana Forge Arrows, which was the build that originally utilized this interaction before Battle Mage's Cry was completely removed from the game, which can also hit 1 billion plus damage as well. Realistically, you can play this with any skill that you want to. You don't have to play any of those 3 skills. And, well, if you want to play a Flicker Strike build, you can very easily utilize this interaction and mana stacking to very easily most likely get a multi-billion damage Flicker Strike setup made. The beautiful thing about this as well is that even before you get Indigon, which is most likely going to be very expensive for the event, this ascendancy still gives you an amazing set of tools to utilize and to make your build really strong, allowing you to play whatever skill you wanted to just fine before you get Your Mind is Destroyed and you get Indigon to scale to the, well, absolute moon. What we also have in the Whisper is Infinite Pursuit and We Know All. Infinite Pursuit gives you 1 mana per dexterity and makes it so your intelligence gives you no mana, and this node is absolutely crazy. 1 mana per dexterity is twice as good as the amount you get from intelligence, given that normally it's 1 mana per 2 intelligence. With a moderately high budget setup, in this case, this is about a 150 to 200 div setup, we can get to 1.4k dexterity, which is the equivalent of 2.8k intelligence when it comes to flat mana, and, well, if you don't know much about instackers, 2.8k intelligence is basically the absolute top end that you could possibly get, requiring you to basically have a mirror item in every single slot to even hope to achieve that much intelligence. The point is, at a relatively low budget of about 100 div or so, we can get 10 mirrors worth of power in our builds, and, well, even if you extrapolate this down to something like a 10 div budget, you're most likely going to be getting the equivalent intelligence values of probably a 1 mirror instacker. This is going to allow you to very easily stack mana at the start of early game maps, and then when we combine this with We Know All, you're going to be able to then get 4% of your mana as added lightning damage, giving you a really nice scaler that's going to pretty heavily carry you all the way up until T16 maps and allow you to then farm for an Indigon and basically break the game. These 2 nodes together are extremely strong and extremely powerful, and honestly, they're going to make playing whatever attack-based build that you want to on this really, really fun. Now, to add to this, because that's only 3 passive points, there's quite a lot of really good options for what our 4th Ascendancy point can be. They're going to give you quite a lot of different options in terms of what you want to do with your build, with a good example of this being Don't Panic Yet, giving you 100% of your physical damage taken as mana before life. Now, this isn't that good on paper, but it's a pretty solid defensive layer that gives you somewhere around 20-30% extra EHP. It's all going to be dependent on how much mana that you have, but it wouldn't be too bad to pick up, and in most cases, probably going to feel pretty good. What I think most people are instead going to take is Wait a Little. This gives you 10 rage per 200 mana spent, and well, given with Indigon, you're going to be spending 10-20,000 mana per 4 seconds. This very easily is over 100 rage per second, and at 100 rage per second, it's really easy to sustain a Berserk for a very long time. Wait a Little plus Berserk basically just gives you a permanent 47% more damage for whatever attack-based build you want to play, so it's most likely going to be the 4th choice for most people, given it's really hard to pass out on, well, 50% more damage. Another really solid option is There Is More, especially if you want to play a crit-based build, as generating power charges is typically a little bit difficult to do, and getting free frenzy charges, especially on bosses, which is something that's hard to do unless you're running something like Sniper's Mark and the mastery for it, is a really good choice as well, and I can see this being a popular choice, especially while leveling, and this is most likely going to be what you want as your first Ascendancy point, which you then respec out of whenever you get 2 points to pick up We Know All. Lastly, which is a little bit more niche, but in the case of the build I'll be personally starting, Kinetic Blast, we have You Forgotten? This node has exponential damage scaling behind it, and honestly, it's so silly and broken, specifically with wand-based builds or projectile-based builds, that it's going to be on the same power level as Your Mind is Destroyed. If we want to look at a quick paint explanation of what exactly it does, it is basically Awakened Fork on crack. Normally, if you're to shoot a projectile like this, if it hits an enemy, that's it, the projectile is dead. If you got yourself normal fork, what this would then do is it would fork the projectile once whenever it hits. With Awakened Fork, we gain fork an additional time, meaning that these 2 forks, if they were to hit another set of enemies, would also then each fork one more time. Well, the one additional fork from Have You Forgotten would also then work with Awakened Fork, meaning our projectile can hit an enemy, fork, those projectiles can then fork again, and then these projectiles can then fork again one more time. Because of this, and the interaction of Spellslinger plus Tornado with Kinetic Blast of Clustering specifically, this allows us to fork off of a tornado that we are shooting on top of an enemy, which allows us to, well, basically do exactly what you see on the screen. This is crazy, and this, what you're seeing on the screen right now, is just with Awakened Fork, meaning we're missing the Ascendancy. This only gets crazier with that, and it's honestly kind of hard to tell exactly how much extra DPS it would give you in a setup like this. The point is, it's going to be very strong and very powerful for both KB and for any sort of projectile-based build, so if you want to play a bull build, this would be insane for clear. It's going to be a very sought-after node. Overall, I am extremely excited for this, and I feel like this Ascendancy is going to be something that a lot of people are going to have a lot of fun on, especially given that it's just going to immediately work from a low budget and just immediately delete the whole game. And I'm very much looking forward to making a whole guide on Whisperer builds, as I'm pretty sure I'm going to be trying quite a lot of them out, as they all should be the same thing. The only thing you have to do is just change out your weapon. So if you want to play a wand build, you put on a wand. If you want to play a bow build, you put on a bow. If you want to play a melee build, you just put on a claw. So it should be very easy for us to just play around and test different skills and see what exactly feels the most fun. I'm going to personally try to get a build guide out for this a few days before the event starts. We don't know exactly when it starts, but I'm assuming it's going to be next week on February 21st. And if you want to play along with whatever we do on Whisper, there will be a typical Allie guide that you can follow that'll hold your hand from level 1 all the way to endgame like I normally do. It should be a very fun time, and this Ascendancy has gotten me so excited for Path of Exile in a way that I haven't felt in a very long time, as I am personally a massive fan of stacker builds. It should be really fun to see what myself and the community comes up with on this crazy Ascendancy. If you'd like to see some of the theory crafting for this ahead of time, I will be streaming all of this on Twitch over the next week or so, and we'll be doing quite a lot of theory crafting, at least our testing for Whisper. So if you want to come and join my community and be a part of the cuties and come and hang out with everyone else, you're more than welcome to drop by. You're also free to leave a comment in the comments below, and I'd be more than happy to discuss any of this or talk about this further with you. Or if you simply have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them as soon as I can. With that said, cuties, I hope you're as excited for Whisper as I am. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you all in the next video.